Hello, it is Saturday, October 2nd, 2021. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to my New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. I wanted to mention a nice comment I got on Twitter, actually, from a user going by Nitro, who said, in a recent New York Times crossword, you wrote HSBC for a big bank headquartered in London, and you noted offhandedly that it was the Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. I just used that tidbit to win at pub trivia tonight. It's the little things. Love the videos. Keep them up. That was a very nice comment. Thank you for passing that on. And I haven't been to pub quiz, pub trivia in ages. It'd be a fun thing to. I was never a huge pub trivia person, but I feel as though I would like to be. So maybe that's a resolution for me in the coming months. But that's a fun way to use some of this occasionally arcane trivia and vocabulary to some sort of fun purpose in the real world rather than just, in my case, sitting here behind my computer. And actually, before we get on to the clues from yesterday, I do want to mention the Patreon again because I've just put live the bonus solve video that I mentioned yesterday, which was the preseason puzzle for the competition starting Monday called the Boss Words Fall Themeless League. And so that preseason puzzle, which was I think it's called the Stormy difficulty level, which is intended to be a little tougher than a Saturday New York Times puzzle. So I guess I'll see actually how it compares to the puzzle I'm about to solve right now. I did find it tricky, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of solving one of those tricky puzzles each week over the course of this league. But that preseason puzzle is solved and up on the Patreon if you are a subscriber. And if you're not, you could head over to patreon.com/dailysolve to see the different tiers at which you can contribute and get access to that bonus content. So let's get on to some clues from yesterday. One thing that I do think a couple of people pointed this out, but I also pointed it out to myself immediately after recording the video. I was pointing out were they pentominoes in the puzzle, the 5-tiled little bat illustrations, and then there was a clue that referenced Tetris, which has tetrominoes. And I mentioned the possibility of biominoes and eunominoes or something like that. There's already a word for a biomino, and it's a domino. A domino. Yes, completely passed me by, and actually monomino is apparently the proper term for the single tile itself. So there we go. That hit me right in the face after the solve, and then I think several other people online also hit me in the face with it appropriately. So sorry about that. Here are a couple other comments from yesterday's puzzle. ADYJ1411 says, as for solar car, which was an answer in yesterday's puzzle, while I would agree it's not necessarily the most common mode of transportation or one that is easy to encounter, building such cars has become an increasingly popular activity. Many American universities, such as MIT, Berkeley, which was my alma mater, Georgia Tech, etc., take part in the American Solar Challenge, ASC, which is a biannual competition for the best, fastest, or longest-lasting solar car built entirely by undergraduates. So that's very interesting. Kathy Swope points out regarding the open MRI answer, one of the challenges for some people with MRIs is claustrophobia because of the enclosed tube. MRI is the magnetic imaging test in which you sort of enter into a long cylinder. And having gone through a number of those myself over the course of my life, I can confirm it certainly would, I would suspect, trigger someone's claustrophobia. So she continues, the tubes are so small inside, they sometimes result in a panic attack. An open MRI uses the same technology, but is open on the sides, resulting in an easier experience for the patient. So that sounds good. And then there was a clue regarding sweaters in the answer gym class. And I said, I wonder if sweaters refers to the band that goes around one's forehead. Nope. As several people pointed out, including Jeffrey Bartman, it refers to the students in gym class who are sweating. They are the sweaters. So maybe I overthought or maybe underthought that one. Okay, let's get on to today's puzzle, a Saturday puzzle. intended to be the most difficult puzzle of the week, and I would say generally fulfills that ambition. This is a puzzle constructed by Wendy L. Brands. I don't think I recognize that name offhand. Edited, as always, by Will Shorts. I can already tell this is a pretty open grid. Lots of long answers. Very few just a couple 3-word answers. So this might be a tricky puzzle. We'll see. Ready to get started? Okay. Bagel choices. Could be sesame bagel. Are there other examples that fit in there? Onion bagel, everything bagel. I think that maybe sesame bagel. Let's try that. Great news. Not sure. Bring to a boil. Could be enrage. If you bring someone to a boil, someone is really boiling. They're very angry. They're enraged. A heavy hitter. A swatter? No, doesn't fit. Floor support. Floor support. Oh, could be I, as in on the floor of a legislative body, voting aye on a motion or a bill. Café du Blanc, landmark shop in New Orleans, French Quarter. Oh, don't know. I've never been to New Orleans. I'd like to. Within prefix. Endo, right? As contrasted to exoskeleton, for instance. Leave a mark could be scar. How a first date is experienced. Well, with these crosses, only once. It is definitionally only once the first date. Penalty for a polluter. Don't know. Keep wondering, is this tax? Is it ban? Is it just some sort of fee? Penalty for a polluter. Not sure. Let's go back to these downs now that we have an extra letter. Great news. Could it be so good? I'm not sure. Heavy hitter. Slugger. Slammer. Boy, I'm not seeing it. Cafe. Could it be Café du Monde, maybe? The world, the Cafe of the World. Le Monde, the world, maybe. If that were an N. If this were a D. Pearl Harbor hero for whom a future U.S. aircraft carrier is scheduled to be named. I'm not sure. I suspect this was probably in the news recently-ish if it's a future aircraft carrier that's scheduled to be named. So it's something that probably was announced recently. Student in College Station, Texas. I wonder if this is Aggie. This came up. Aggie, someone explained the derivation of this, which is a common name for a mascot or a sports team at various American universities that were once agricultural schools or ag schools. Therefore, their students or sports teams are Aggies. That would allow this to be Monde. I'm going to speculatively put that in because it seems plausible to me, and I think the gender matches. So, from that do, which would be masculine. Okay, so let's see. Why am I not seeing this penalty for a polluter? It's so filled. It's just almost filled, and I'm not seeing it. Here we have sprout. That's sprout as in grow. Could be a noun or a verb. Great news. Okay, it's not so good, which I wasn't happy with anyway, so I'm not surprised. So neat. That also seems terrible. Great news. I don't know. I should probably move on. I'm getting confounded in this corner over here. Okay. Info on a medicine bottle. Dosage, maybe? Most best picture winners or dramas, I bet that is. A refueling spot could be an oasis in a desert, for instance. I think that came up maybe earlier this week, in fact. A window part could be a sash of a window, although this isn't looking good. Yeah, don't think it's sash. Oh, sill. It's a window sill because this is raison d'état. I think. Reason of state, that would be. Seems plausible. It's It's not as common as either raison d'être, which is reason to be, or coup d'état, which is a sort of overthrow of a government. But it seems plausible. Biased could be a slant. You have a slant if you have a bias. Invariably, as a rule, not seeing it immediately. Lapped, e.g., could be gone past. If you lapped someone in a race, you've gone past them. One in the running could be an entrant, someone who enters a contest. This looks like Miller, the name. Could it be Doris Miller? Dory? There's also Dory Miller, Doris Miller. Those both have an I here. Are there other names that start with D-O-R with 5 letters? Dorby? Dorby's not a name. Probably Dory or Doris. Does this help here? Canned lines. Canned lines. Could this be a brand name for some sort of canned food or something? Because there's a question mark which indicates some kind of pun or wordplay. Canned lines. I mean, without the question mark, you'd think this would mean a sort of stock one-liner or something like that. A, sassy but relatively rote joke or something like that. Blows a gasket. So if this were an E, it could be erupts. Nope, too few letters. If it's an S, blows a gasket. I assume this means metaphorically blows a gasket, gets very angry, enrages. Sets off, maybe? Let's check the crosses. I'm not very confident. Some bags in boxes. Could be tea bags, a box of tea bags. Canned lines. Exit. Oh, maybe. Is this ento rather than endo? Because then this could be tax. A green tax. Oh, maybe that. Yeah, that's probably right. So heavy hitter. Oh, a sledge is in a sledgehammer. Okay. And then sprout. Oh, a lad is in a sprout. A little, metaphorically, a little kid, a little boy, a lad in this case. Great news. So glad. Judge deem. Okay. All right. I deem this corner correct at this point, I think. I'm in. I don't know yet. Not enough. Could be too many different things. Canned lines. Exit. Interesting. Canned lines. Canned lines. Oh, maybe it's lines when someone is fired? When someone is canned, let go from their job? Exit. Interview? Oh, maybe. Maybe. Props for some plays. Could it be props meaning kudos, compliments? Props for some plays. Is there an award that it could be dramatic productions, it could be sports plays. I'm just not seeing it immediately. Let's keep going. New Deal program for short. I think the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, something like that. Although that doesn't look right here. Invariably. Is Miller? That's got to be Miller. I don't know what other name that could possibly be. Doris Miller. I'll have to look that person up. Pearl Harbor hero for her. Not familiar with the name. Invariable. I'm not seeing it. Let's keep looking. The Godfather actor Caan? James Caan? Awkward in brackets. Not immediately seeing that. Let's see. Date you might not put on the calendar. Oh, a tryst. You have a romantic entanglement for a certain date and you would not put that on your calendar. Okay, let's see. Invariably. Oh, as always. Oh, it is the Works Progress Administration. Look at that. Okay. Should have thought a little harder about that LW there. Awkward. Oh, cringe. Oh, I see. I see. So I find it difficult to explain exactly the criteria for the square brackets around a clue. So if someone has a really good pithy way to sum up when precisely the brackets are called for, let me know. I feel like I sort of intuitively understand the function they're serving, but I find I do struggle to clearly explain it, which is frustrating for myself as well as for you, possibly. So what does this mean when it says awkward? I mean, I think what it basically means is, I mean, these aren't synonyms. I suppose cringe is sort of actually becoming a synonym for awkward in modern parlance, whereas I think the equivalent maybe more than 5 years ago would have been cringe-worthy, which I think has been colloquially abbreviated to cringe, basically. Whereas in the past, cringe would be a verb. And I think what this might be getting at is sort of someone maybe saying, "Ooh, awkward. That's a cringe moment." I don't know. I need to better consider how to parse the square brackets. So if you have any ideas, do let me know in the comments or wherever else. Lao Tzu, Chinese philosopher, I believe, could be spelled with an S or a Z, I think. Ate the last cookie, say. I'll leave that for now, just in case. What is this? Intensify. I guess I'm not incredibly confident about sets off. I'm going to delete all of that, in fact. Oh, yeah, that was wrong right from the beginning. I think props for some plays might be OBs. I think there's some kind of dramatic award that's an OB. It sounds familiar. So does that, oops, where am I going? Does that help me out anymore with blows a gasket? Oh, sees red. Sees red, perhaps, gets very angry in a way that a bull doesn't, apparently. I think in a recent crossword that was solved on this channel, something like a bull being angered at seeing the color red was part of a clue whose answer was myth, indicating that is actually sort of a folk legend, but not actually true. Okay, like the years of most presidential inaugurations. Well, probably odd. I mean, that is true, and I'm aware of that generally, but you'd probably be able to infer that from that cross if you had that O there. Although OBs might be slightly obscure. I'm not sure. Okay, quick fix. And bandage maybe? A quick fix, putting a bandage on something metaphorically. Accords, this is a model of car, a Honda sedan, 4-door car. Pair seen 3 times in All's Well That Ends Well. EL? No. Yes. No. Am I going blind? There are 2 ELs, pair seen 3 times. Is there another pair of letters that appears 3 times in All's Well That Ends Well? SW? No, that's also twice. Oh, but it starts with E. I might be completely on the wrong track here. It seems like this wants a collection of letters that is E something and then a plural with an S. But that doesn't, it doesn't seem possible because I don't think that's the case. And this is definitely sedans. I apologize if this is screamingly apparent, which it very well may be. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure this wants a pair of letters starting with E. Right. Okay. Ate the last cookie, say. Couldn't resist. Okay. That became a little easier once I saw this DNT, which must have been a contraction. That's something didn't, couldn't, hadn't, that sort of contraction, because I'm pretty confident about these crosses. So couldn't resist the last cookie. Okay, Lao Tzu with the S looks right. Intensify as to deepen, should have gotten that. Mini albums for short. EPs, those are the smaller records, extended play records, although now, I mean, the phrase is used beyond records to refer to short albums in general. What's the big deal? Cards, I guess. You deal cards. This is one of those sorts of clues you get occasionally in which it's not actually a definition. It's just a sentence that can be answered or indicated. So you could imagine this also being clued similarly as "it's the big deal!" exclamation point or something like that. Not actually a definition, really, or not, at least not phrased as a definition, but just something that sort of points to or indicates the answer. Those are pretty rare. Most New York Times clues are not clued that way, but you have to occasionally be on the lookout for it. Posers are forever saying it. Cheese? Posing for a photograph? I bet. Item of prison contraband. Oh. Wow, must not be bandage, and I said I was confident about that. Oh, it must be Band-Aid, a brand of bandage. Ah. And so, I got that because prison contraband would be a shiv, a sort of improvised knife. With that V, there weren't very many options for that. A lift user could be a skier. You could be taking a ski lift. Is it ski? Yeah, skier with an E. Feel it the next day. You might be sore from exercise, perhaps, which you will feel the next day. A muse of history. Is Cleo a muse of history? Filers of amicus briefs often. This is a court motion. I think an amicus brief, amicus for friend, I think you file that to indicate you are, in support of some kind of motion or something. But I'm not sure. I'm going to remove all of that because I don't know entirely what to make of it yet. Cigarette that's assembled by hand, informally. Don't know enough about cigarettes, I don't think, to know that. Lawn games seen regularly on ESPN beginning in 2017. What are some lawn games? Bocce ball? Croquet? How do you spell croquet? It's with a T, I think, so that doesn't really seem like it fits. I don't know. Screams over. Out shouts, perhaps? No, out yells? Maybe? Does that work here? Goes bad, sours. All right, so the out is probably correct. I mean, that part I'm pretty confident about. Not as confident about yells because I think it could be anything. Oh, but at least one would be any. If we get any crosses here and out yells, which we now have one, we have at least one, I'm more confident in it. Big name in deco would be, I think, the Erte, the artist. Erte? I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that. An Art Deco artist. Lawn game seen regularly on ESPN beginning in 2017. Corn. Alaskan king. Oh, Alaskan king crab. A sea crab, I guess? Filers of amicus briefs. Cigarette. Oh, cigarette that's assembled by hand informally. Could that be a rollie? You roll a cigarette? That looks right. Like mysterious matters often, or hotels. Checked into. Oh, cornhole. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that game is, but I've heard of it. I think it's played in the south of the United States or maybe the Midwest. I'm sure someone will tell me. I apologize for not knowing that better, but I've heard the name. Okay, a muse of history. It must be Cleo. And then, but with an I, because filers of amicus briefs are allies, right? So as I was saying, you'd file an amicus brief in support of something. I don't know enough exactly about the legal mechanism to explain it in more depth than that, but I know that it is generally something along those lines. All right, so here we have a TV series with Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Absolutely have never heard that name, but I bet in 4 letters with an S, it's NCIS. I suspect that came up. NCIS, I think, came up in the crossword within the last couple days. Spin-off of it in some city, I already forget. Something you might watch with your parents. Time? I don't know what this is. Cost effective could be economic. Efficient, it needs that E. I mean, it's got to be econ something, right? I would have assumed that would be economical, but maybe not. Maybe not in certain parts of speech. Something you might watch with your parents. Oh, you might watch your tone with your parents. There we go. Goes gently to the bottom. Sinks down, seeps in. Place to get a cab. Not a taxi cab, but a Cabernet, a red wine. A wine bar, a wine shop. Painter with a famous garden. Well, I know that Monet painted many nature scenes, water lilies, that sort of thing. So maybe he had a famous garden. If one was serious about something, one meant it. All right. Subject of the 2018 book Seeds of Science for short. Not familiar with the book, but I bet it's GMOs, genetically modified organisms. That sounds pretty correct for Seeds of Science. And then here we have the hare, but not the tortoise. Maybe shop is wrong. This looks sort of weird. A mammal. A hare is a mammal, but a tortoise is not. That seems correct to me. One way to serve chili could be on rice. Nowheresville with these, the sticks. Oh, and a doctor's order is an MRI. We have MRI 2 days in a row. Look at that. I always wonder if that's intentional. I always think it must be. Because Will Shortz, the editor, as always, he's choosing when these go out. And I think sometimes constructors will submit a puzzle that won't end up running in the paper for months or even years. So, Will Shortz is arranging these and may well enjoy those little cute echoes like MRI 2 days in a row. Okay, Nowheresville with the is sticks, goes gently to the bottom, settles to the bottom as in a glass, for instance. And a leftover morsel, here's a little bit of crosswordese actually that hasn't come up in a while. I don't remember if it's come up in this series, but it's one to know. And you could get this with wine rack, but it's good to know this little word as well. A leftover morsel is an ort. A little bit of food is an ort. I think it's probably rarely used in modern parlance, but modern language, but it does come up in crosswords sometimes because it's one of those very helpful collections of 3 letters that can be jammed into a grid. So there we go. That was the Saturday puzzle. I had fun. I don't think that was brutal by Saturday standards. I certainly found that bonus puzzle I solved that went up on the Patreon today, I found that to be more of a challenge than this one. Which, I mean, doesn't mean anything. It was supposed to be more challenging than this one. But I found this to be a smoothish Saturday solve. Let me know if you agree with that. I'm curious. I'm also curious about who Doris Miller is. I'll have to look her up. And I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments anyway, which will be nice. I'm always enjoy that. I was glad to be able to use my Aggie knowledge that someone that in itself was something I learned from a comment maybe a week ago or so, I would say. WPA, I think the New Deal program, this was the FDR, Franklin Roosevelt era program of mass employment, I believe. I think the WPA was the government program that essentially found ways to employ people after the Great Depression in things like painting murals to beautify areas, things like that. I mean, I think they did lots of other things as well. That's just always one of the ones I always found sort of striking. But I believe that's the Works Progress Administration. Maybe I could have one of those words wrong. Props for some plays. Obies is very clever, and because there's obviously misdirection in there, I wasn't sure if because plays itself could have more than one meaning as well. But it's fun that it was props, props themselves literally are used in plays. And so we kept the connection to the theater with the answer Obies, a dramatic award. That was fun. Date you might not put on the calendar, tryst, is pretty clever. Oh, right. And exit interview as canned lines. That's a great example. It's always fun when You can have let's see, when you have an answer that's longer than the clue, you have a pretty substantial phrase like exit interview, and you get there with just 2 syllables, canned lines. Very clever. A very well clued puzzle. I really enjoyed this one. All right. Well, yes, do let me know how you fared. I hope you enjoyed the puzzle. And I hope you enjoy this series generally. Please do subscribe to the channel if you've been enjoying it. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed to the channel. It's fun to see that number slowly go up over time and reach more people with these, these very chill videos. If you think you might know someone else who might enjoy these very chill videos, why not pass this series along to them and maybe they could become a subscriber? And maybe, just maybe, eventually they might want to contribute to the long-term sustainability of this series. Perhaps you are interested in that. If so, you can head over to the Patreon campaign, which can be found at patreon.com/dailysolve. It's linked in the description field underneath each video. And over there, you can find out how to get bonus content, such as that Bossword's Fall Themeless Puzzle League crossword that I solved today and put up there, but also special access to the Discord server, discussion server about crosswords and puzzles, and for some patrons who are particularly generous, special recognition on these videos. And on that note, today I would like to thank Resme, as well as always, the inestimable Hood Monster for helping make this series possible and helping it continue going forward. So thank you so much to Resme and Hood Monster, and thank you to everyone else who has backed the Patreon, and thank you to you for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope to appreciate it again tomorrow when we return for the Sunday puzzle. Perhaps a little bit easier than this, but also, generally speaking, much longer because it's a big grid. So join me for what is usually that nice, relaxing, languid Sunday solve tomorrow. I hope to see you there. But until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Saturday. Take care.